So this is a show called Landscape Unbound, and the idea came about from my curatorial studies class in the fall. I asked them to think of an idea for a group show call for submissions. And they thought about this idea of landscape to reinterpret it, because there's a lot of landscape art in Victoria. So how could we make an exhibition that addresses landscape art in a little bit of a different way? And at first, it was just going to be video and sculpture, but then I encouraged them just to open it up a little bit to maybe painting that could be more relief work. So they came up with the idea in the fall, and then we put out a call for submissions in February, and we received about 38 submissions, but we could only take 12 just because of the size of the gallery. So we were a group, well, they're a group of 8, so we did it by consensus. So they would vote on each one, and it was the one that won the vote would get in. It's very unusual to curate by consensus. Usually it's one person or maybe a jury of 3, but not 8. So it was pretty good because if someone really wanted to work in the show, they were allowed to come up with the reasons why they wanted it in. So, and you couldn't just be in because you're a famous, well-known artist. So we ended up coming up with a kind of aesthetic that a lot of the work have this sort of pristine quality. It's hard to describe what that is, but it just felt like these works were a little more pristine or clear compared to the works that we didn't choose. But we chose work basically, I suggested that they have a criteria in case anyone wonders why they didn't get selected. So the criteria was the artistic merit of the work, like what was the craftsmanship like, how was the idea. Then the second was, does it fit into the space? And then the third was, how does it relate to other work in the show, which is we make that decision as we go. So basically that's how we decided what works were going to be shown. So it was really exciting. We had, in the exhibition we have an artist from New York, we have someone from Ottawa, someone from Saskatoon. So it was really great to reach out further than the slide room has in the past. So that's basically how the work came together, and then we hung it as a class. So the students got to experience the curatorial process from the idea, putting out the call, selecting the artist, and then putting the work up. So what you see in the slide room gallery is a result of all that work, probably like 9 months of work. So we're standing behind, or Gillian Player's work is behind us. And Gillian is a florist by day, so she wanted to do something that addressed what she spent a lot of her time thinking about. So the title is Spring Ahead, Fall Behind. So it's kind of talking about fall and spring. And so she created that. And then there's quite a variety of work from, I'm not going to talk about every piece, but just to give you a sense of the variety of the work. Maybe we'll go to this piece here. This work is a Vancouver artist, Anna Haywood-Jones. And these are local plants. And she weaves this fabric with different fibers. So there's only one color she gets from the plant. But when she takes this white weaving and dips it into the dye, the different fibers take the dye in a more intense way. And some of the fibers have been treated with mordant, which really helps absorb the dye. So it's really interesting to see that, this plant could create this. So kind of different way of looking at nature. And she's done this with hundreds of plants in a small area of Nova Scotia. And so she was doing an artist residency in Victoria, and she did it with a few local plants. So, and then This is a art student from Camosun. She's just 21, and we thought really interesting to have a sculptural piece and something that, you know, talks about landscape but is made from something, from the earth, the steel. So that was a good contribution. Then over here we have this is Esther Parker, who is really interested in geology, and all these little designs are actual symbols geologists use. And this is really a specific landform in Vancouver Island and what it looks like underneath. You know, I mean, obviously it's not a photographic representation, but it's a diagram representation of a very specific location. And then this piece is St. Philip, and it's a part of the Fraser River known as Hell's Gate. It's the narrowest part of the river. I think it's 100 feet, and it's all built to scale. And he grew up in this area, and he's really interested in the idea that there's many different routes. There's the river highway, and then, I never knew this, but there's the Canadian Pacific on one side and the Canadian National Railway on the other. This is Amanda Salmon, and she's actually going to be giving a talk about her work at Visa on May 6th. And so she's found this old device in a thrift store and turned it into a different way to look at landscape. And there's a piece of artificial turf on the ground and the sound of water. This is a video artist from New York. It has a very beautiful soundtrack. It's called Plastic Oceans, and everything in the video is fabricated. It's not actual landscape, and very kind of personal dialogue with quite beautiful music. So we've set it up so you can sit down and view it on a chair, so that you could have this really kind of intimate experience with it. These are tunnel books, and the artist is from Saskatoon, and so she's done these paper cuts. So we thought it would be quite nice if we put them on shelves, so they kind of read like paintings but also books. Yeah, so you can see quite a diverse range of ways to look at the landscape. So come and see the show.
The mountain behind the nose isn't high, but we've been on the top for several times. I can see. We couldn't see it. You said you wouldn't do this again. You were about to move to back to me. I left you alone. This was broken. I was slowly crying. I was slowly getting on the top, but it was fine. Because I can't see it anymore.
March 12th. I woke up from the bed right after being sick for days, sweated through. The world becomes really quiet. The Rollins bell is ringing faintly outside, and that is seemingly far away. Everything's blurred. The sun is still harsh. The other roof opposite the window is toasted like the back of sand dunes below the blue sky. I close my eyes and want to get into sleep again, thinking of the traveler, his camel, finally having gotten through countless afternoons, crossing these areas, walking.
We drank a lot when we first met. I was really good actually. We were always playing Mario Kart every time. I would pick the mountains more. The mountain in the house was a park. We went to the mountain for sledding. We tried. We couldn't sled. We said we wouldn't do this again. We were